Nicole is in Houston, Texas. Hi, Nicole. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hello?
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for asking, sir. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
I am a new listener, brand new, and I saw a few of the baby steps. I was looking over them, and I saw that you recommend that people do not put into their 401k to pay off their debt. My husband is actually very serious about his 401k, and he really, believes in putting everything in it. And I was wondering if you could give me some advice and how I can speak to him about this, but still, like, in a God-honoring way, like what you would recommend as my Uncle Dave.
How old are you guys?
I am 30 and he's 32.
How long have you been married?
Almost 12 years.
Good for you. Very cool.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, what I would do is this. I think the 401k question starts to go away when you guys get on the same page about your goals and the shortest distance between where you are and your goal. Let's back up from the conversation and not worry about the details of the baby steps, because right now you have a little bit of information about the baby steps and about all this plans and details and all this, and he's got none.
Yes.
And you've suddenly gotten excited about building wealth. You've suddenly gotten excited about the money thing, and you never have been in 12 years. And so he's kind of looking at you like, who are you?
Well, I believe that when I do have the conversation with him, that he will be receptive, because he does want to retire early.
Now, let's start with now you're right on track. That's exactly what you do. Let's get above this and say, okay, let's start talking about, I've been looking at this money stuff and I'm getting excited about it. And so I want us to talk about wealth. I want us to talk about how we can build wealth so we can be outrageously generous, so we can change our family tree. And then once we both agree that we're working on towards that, then we can back up and say, okay, that's the goal. And then anytime you set a goal, one of the next questions you ask yourself, whether you realize it or not, is you say, okay, what has to be true that's not true now for us to get there?
Yes, sir.
Because if we were already there, we would already have all the things going. We're not there, and so there must be something wrong with what we're doing. And what's wrong with what we're doing is we have debt. And because the number one process to building wealth, the number one thing to hit that goal is to be debt-free. All the data tells us that. All the studies of millionaires that we've done, all the detailed data that we've drug out of people over 30 years of doing this, the number one key to your most powerful wealth-building tool is your income. And once you understand that, then you say, okay, I got to get my income back. I can't be giving it all to banks. Then the baby steps start to make sense, because you say, okay, before I start investing, I need to be able to invest with gusto, and I can't because I'm walking with a limp carrying this debt. When you're paying a $500 car payment, that's $500 you can't put into an investment. When you're paying $300 on a student loan that's been around so long you think it's a pet, that's $300 you can't put into an investment. When you have a Master card, who named that? A Master card in your life, then that's money you can't put into an investment. And so you're limited because all the money comes in and most of the money goes out and the rest of it goes to the 401k. And you're not getting there. So all the data tells us the shortest distance between where you are and wealth is to become debt-free, because that frees up your most powerful wealth-building tool. But if you start with that discussion before you agree on the goal is building wealth. And the purpose of building wealth, of course, is change our family tree, retire with dignity, and be outrageously generous. These are the things that people build wealth for. I want to make sure my kids are taken care of, I'm taken care of, I'm not a burden on my family when I hit retirement, and I can help other people with money. And the more money I have, the more other people I can help with money. And so, poor people can't feed poor people. That's a pretty basic mathematical fact. Okay, so we're going to try to be outrageously generous. We're going to put ourselves in this position to be generous. And the way to get there is get out of debt so that we can invest with more gusto, which gets us there the fastest. Now, you might do it the other way. You might pull it off the other way, but very few people do. The data tells us that the people that get there, the successful people, and if your husband's plan worked, you would already be there. Okay? So his plan isn't working. because you're diluting it. You're trying to do two things at once, and you can't do two things at once. It's like people trying to text and drive. You know, they can't text well, and they can't drive well. Your thumbs are all over the place. You're misspelling words, and you're swerving like a drunk. You're worse than a drunk. And so, you know, you just decide, I'm not going to try to do two things at once. You can't do two things at once. That's the problem. And here's the thing. We're not really saying stop the 401k. We're saying stop the 401k temporarily. And almost everyone is debt-free except their house within 2 years on this plan. But that's if they get gazelle intense and focused and stop the 401k and take an extra job and live on beans and rice and quit going on vacations and don't see the inside of a restaurant unless they're working there. During the 2 years, you're completely focused on getting out of debt with, I'm getting out. So it's only 2 years. You're 32. 2 years off of your 401k is not going to keep you from being wealthy. Mathematically, it's simply not. And so take the time off and completely focus. Don't text and drive. Don't do a 401k and try to get out of debt at the same time. You're not going to do either one well. And that's what it comes down to. But if you start with, I'm going to talk about your favorite subject, the 401k, and I'm going to call your baby ugly. That's not a plan. That's like walking in and going, we're going to get out of debt by selling your truck, darling. And he's going to go, I'm not on your plan. And so, you know, you started with the what instead of the why. And so go back and do the why. The wealth building, he's going to be receptive to that. He's already wired that way. He's going to be happy you're bringing this conversation up. Start with that and then back down in, and then decide if you want to do this the way that we teach. As a couple, you can decide that. This is not a cult. You can decide to not join the cult. You can decide to shave your head and drink the Kool-Aid, but you don't have to. And then you can leave the cult later if you want. So we're really not a cult, because cult people don't leave. They just stay once they're there. So you see what I'm saying? You get to decide what you're going to do. I give you the freedom to decide, but there are principles that work here. And if you want to do the proven plan and not do it ish, you'll get the best results. And that's what we're doing. So good question, because that gives me a chance to get up on my soapbox for everyone out there.